Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Cloud Lunch and Learn session. Today, we are going to have our guest speaker Radu speaking about cloud repatriation. Basically, it's opposite of moving to the cloud for certain scenarios, and he's going to show what are the pros and cons. As before pandemic there was already a move to the cloud, and during the pandemic it's just accelerated, right? More and more organizations move there, but there are caveats. And in this session, Radu will unwrap that for us. Radu is joining from Cluj, I believe, Romania, right? I don't know if I pronounced that name or not, but he's a great technologist there, connecting the dots for technical problems with the business problems. And welcome to the studio, Radu.
Hello, thank you for the introduction. Thank you for inviting me for joining this session, and thank you for all the attendees that making time and to find more about this topic. And I hope that in the next hour, together with me, we will discover why repatriation is important and what are the pros and cons, and what are the things that we should consider when we are putting this on our roadmap.
Yeah, that's really interesting topic for today. So, without any overdue, I'm going to bring the stage back to you, Radu, so you can start presenting. Good luck. So I'll be in the backstage. So if there's any questions or so, please put them in the chat. I'll bring them to the studio. And good luck, Radu. I'll be in the
Thank you.
backstage. Yeah.
Hello everybody. So we have, I would say, 40-45 minutes for the deck that I prepared and highlighting the most important things that I would like to share with you. If you have any kind of comments, feel free to use the chat feature to put the question over there, and we'll take the question as they are coming. Now, before jumping to this topic, before talking about repatriation and identify why this is happening, what is the current context, what is the trend, what we should expect to happen in the next 1 or 2 years, or even this year, I would like to present a little bit myself. Who am I? Well, I'm Radu von Volea. I'm based in the heart of Transylvania, in a city called Cluj-Napoca. Well, it's not right in the center, but also the heart is not in the center. So I see Cluj as the heart of Transylvania, and this is why I'm from the heart of Transylvania. My journey in cloud started in 2009, and starting from then, I was involved in a lot of Microsoft Azure and AWS projects that were especially cloud adoptions and migrations. But what I notified in the last 6-9 months, there are more and more there's more and more interest of going back to on-prem. And this is what I would like to talk with you today. In my journey, I learned that cloud is not so cheap as we expect, and it's very easy to hide different technical problems, different design problems, and in the end, it's more easily to allocate more resources to provide a better tier versus to dig to see exactly what is the problem and to solve it. I'm also a Microsoft Azure MVP and my Microsoft Regional Director. I'm very close to the Microsoft team, and I really enjoy the journey that cloud provide to us nowadays, especially now when cloud is not a big thing as it used to be 6 or 7 years ago. It's just a commodity that allows us through a platform to improve the business, to improve the innovation level, the agility, and so on. Now, I know that we love stories. And I would like to share you a story that happened a few months ago. I was preparing to join a customer discussion where we were talking about a migration for around 10,000 machines from multiple locations around the globe, for around 20 plus locations from the globe, to Microsoft Azure, basically in one or two locations. When we jumped in the discussion, the customer said, wait, no, no, no. We're not talking about a migration to cloud. We are talking of a migration of 10,000 machines that are located in some AWS, in some Azure data centers, in some on-premise location because they have a lot of factories around the globe, to two different sites from an EU country. He was already convinced that from the cost point of view, it's a very good deal. He already done all the math. He already has around. He had a team of 6 or 7 infrastructure engineers, and he was looking to extend that team for 1 year to be able to do that repatriation to their base country. So customers already know that cloud is not cheap. It's not all the time response to our day-to-day problem. And I want now, together with you, to understand what is the understanding, how cloud is seen. Now, when we talk about a migration, in most of the cases, a migration is from an on-site location to the cloud. That's pretty easy. When we talk about a repatriation, it's moving back from cloud to on-site. What I want to highlight here that when we talk about repatriation, it's not all the time, and don't think about a large program that would move everything from cloud to on-prem. No. Sometimes can be a part of the systems, a set of the system, specific business functions. It's like when are migrating to cloud. It's not very common to migrate everything to cloud. It's most something in the middle and hybrid cloud. And this is what I want to highlight. And I want to start with the hybrid cloud because keep in mind that all the time we'll talk about in the end about something in the middle. And this is how I see the future. Hybrid cloud is the future. Sometimes we talk about migration to cloud. Sometimes we talk about repatriation, moving back to on-prem of some system. It's in the end a life cycle of the systems, as we have the life cycle of the applications that might be 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and so on. Now, let's take a look on the figures to understand much better how the market looks like. We already know that around 96% of the companies are using at least one cloud vendor, one public cloud vendor. That's huge. I would say almost all of them, and maybe even 100% because some of them are already using, for example, Microsoft 365, and they might not consider as cloud. On top of that, and this is very interesting, over 60% of companies already repatriated at least one workload back to on-prem. This means that more than one of two companies already done that until now. So repetition is not something new. It's part of the life cycle of an IT landscape of customers. It's not something new. It's not something like a big trend. No, it's something normal that maybe people avoided, but it's common. Sometimes happen because the migration or the cloud adoption was not done as expected, or maybe function like cost functions or business KPIs were not tracked from the beginning to the end, and it was very hard to show if the migration was done with success or not. Not, but this is not the main topic for today. We already see that one of two companies already done a repatriation of at least one workload. And one of the best examples, and it's a pretty old example, but I would say that it's one of the first one, and it's very relevant. It's Dropbox. I don't know how many of you have the opportunity to use Yahoo Messenger and to play different games like pool on Yahoo Messenger and use Yahoo. But during the peak of Yahoo and Yahoo Messages, Dropbox was one of the main platforms used to share files. It had it have a huge slice of the market and still is used, but not so much as in the past. At the beginning, they started their journey on on-prem. After that, they went fully on AWS. So they were an AWS shop. In around 2016, they realized that, well, we are paying a lot of money and we need to do something. So they decided in 2016 to move back from AWS to on-prem. And I would say that from their adoption journey of cloud, it was just one of the points of the adoption because they went to the cloud, they've done the repatriation, and after that they realized that, well, cloud is not so bad. And what they've done, they went on a hybrid method where they are combining multiple cloud vendors with on-premise services, depending on the location, on the type of files, on type of customers, and so on. So they are a multi-cloud hybrid platform nowadays. And what we can see on Dropbox is the full adoption journey, going full to the cloud, going almost full back to on-prem, and after that, going on a multi-cloud hybrid approach. And when we talk about repatriation, we need to understand exactly why this is happening, especially nowadays. In 2020, 2021, it was a boom. Everybody was looking to cloud. Why? Because they did not have enough on-prem computation storage power to be able to digitalize or do the full digital story of their business. Now they already are able to do this, but cost is very important. And this is why, if we take a look at the top six uh, causes of cloud repatriation, we'll see that cost is one of the most important ones. Cost, cost, cost. And we'll come back to the cost to talk about more what we need to consider, but we need to keep in mind that the cost is one of the most important factors. Except cost, there are also other things that we need to consider. Performance issues. If you're in a narrow use cases where you need a lot of power, can be CPU power, can be access to disk, and so on. You will never get from the same CPU that you have on on-prem or on the cloud the same performance because the one that you're using on the cloud is virtualized at least one or two levels, and one gigahertz of virtual CPU will not be the same as the hard one that you have on-prem. Similar with access to disk and so on. I'm not saying that it's easy to have of strong performance on on-prem, but when you are comparing both of them all the time, the performance that you have on on-prem will be much, much better. And this is one of the causes of cloud repatriation. Security and compliancy is one of them, especially when you are in an industry where you need to be or where you need to have data on all the countries where you're running your business, and it's very hard to find vendors that they are available in each country, have all their services, and so on. So it can be pretty hard. And this goes hand in hand with data sovereignty when you need to keep the data in the right location. And also the laws are changing. So you can end up now you would say, oh, it's fine to use a cloud vendor. And in 2 years' time, a new law, a new local law applies. And you realize, okay, I have 1 year to move the data in the country where also the customer are. Also, the level of control and the customization, if you talk from the hardware point of view, of course, is much limited on cloud. And also something that people are afraid is vendor lock-in. I'm not afraid of vendor lock-in, but in general, people are very careful. Why I'm not afraid of vendor lock-in is because if you have a cloud adoption strategy and a cloud vision that spans more than 1 or 2 years, meaning that you are aligning your cloud strategy with the life cycles of the applications or the program that you are running, then you can take the decision much easily. Meaning that for these 4 years, where the life cycle of the application of the current system I decide to use Azure, it's pretty fine. After these 5 years, when I will also review and rethink the application and might change also what kind of vendor I will use or the infrastructure strategy, and these two would be aligned, then it shouldn't be a big problem from the vendor lock-in because you would look at the vendor as you're looking at the application lifecycle, and it shouldn't create too many hassles. Now, um, one of the best use cases when cloud repatriation applies is when we talk about companies like the one that I have here in an example, where the data storage, if you're talking about the data or about the storage, about the workloads, from the consumption point of view, if we have here the time and here the consumption level, it's pretty flat. So during, let's say, 3 years, you don't expect to have uh, too much thing happening up or down. And it's very flat, it's very easy to forecast and so on. In this kind of use cases, an on-premise solution will be much better. Of course, if you have an IT department, if you have the knowledge and everything that comes with it to be able to handle, to be able to manage, to manage the configuration and so on. Now, we saw what are the causes, what are the pitfalls, because it's very easy to say cloud is expensive, cloud is not good for me, I want to go back to on-prem. Well, I would say it was the most important factor when people are considering to move to the cloud is infrastructure cost. But also they are underestimated. What is the infrastructure cost on-prem? I don't know. Maybe they don't have the right person that can do the estimation, or they don't take everything into consideration because most of them are assuming, well, I already have a bandwidth connection on our on-site location. They forget to calculate what is the additional bandwidth that I would need to be able to run that system or that bunch of systems. They say, well, I have already the IT. Well, does the IT can handle additional workloads? Do they have the skills? Do I need to buy additional licensing and many more? There are a lot of things that we need to consider and we need to take into consideration. And on top of that, there's some things that you need to be aware exactly at the moment in time when you're doing the repatriation. And a very good example here is the data migration from the two consideration point of view. The first one, when you do the migration from cloud to on-prem, but this is also apply from on-prem to cloud, you are exposed. You are exposed that somebody in the middle over the internet to be able to sniff your data. If you have petabytes of data, you need to ask yourself how long this would take. 1 hour, 1 day, 5 days, 15 days, and after that, how you ensure that you're doing the sync between the live system and the data that you are moving from uh, cloud to on-prem. Okay, the second thing is you're losing the cloud benefits. Everything that you are getting as platform as a service, as a software as a service, basically that is the end of a click like backup, like redundancy, like DR, and so on, you're losing. You need to implement from scratch on on-prem, or you need to ensure that somebody knows to do that, or you're buying the system. Security and compliance is the same story. We are forgetting that from the infrastructure, cloud infrastructure point of view, you already have the PCI DSS, the HIPAA, the ISO certifications. You're just showing to the auditor. You just need to build the application on top of that that will be compliant. If you go to the on-prem, well, you need to take that certifications. You need to be fully compliant, and it's not an easy thing to do. Also, the vendors, the cloud vendors, want you to use the cloud, meaning that they are supporting a lot of technologies, multiple versions of different programming languages, and so on. On-prem, you need to handle by yourself. If you realize that, well, stop. If I need a specific .NET version that I cannot use another distribution of whatever else, well, I need to have two or three different systems and versions I need to manage on-prem. In the cloud, you don't bother too much on that. It's already there. You just specify which Java, .NET, Python version you like to use, and all's good. The same with databases and so on. And also, when you are going back to on-prem, you lose a lot of innovation and agility because if the teams are receiving from their manager feedback, your idea is great, but to be able to do that, you need to wait 3 weeks or 1 month until our IT will allocate it to you additional resources. They might lose their traction or the openness to be able to try something new. And also, this also could create friction when you want to try to add new business functionality because I need to create a new environment. I need to wait from IT a few weeks or months. Or well, look, there's a new AI service over there. Let's use it. Well, we cannot use it because it is not yet supported. Let's put a ticket on IT, and you are receiving the first feedback from them in 1 week time that would say, please check with our cybersecurity team, and after that, please buy the hardware or thing like that, and you're losing a lot of time. So it highly affects also this part. Um, I would like to talk more about the compatibility issue because we are forgetting the juice that we are getting in the cloud versus on-prem. And it's not only compatibility issues from operating system, from the programming language, it's more than that. And I have 4 examples that I want here to highlight. The first one is a serverless function. Serverless functions are very, very powerful as long as you are in an environment where you can scale dynamically and more or less your pay per use. In an environment where you already have a limited capability, being serverless or not, from the computation cost point of view, it's almost the same. It's about scalability. It's not about optimizing cost. The second one is ML, AI, ML, and things like that. How many of you had, I would say, the opportunity, the bad luck, to configure an AI pipeline where you have a lot of packages written in Python, in Java. Most of them are open source. They have different inputs and outputs. So the input format might be CSV, the output is a JSON. The JSON format is not compatible with the next package that you have in the system, and so on. And you need all of them to modify, to match, do the transformation, and so on. It's a nightmare. In the cloud, the vendors are handling this for you. You are just orchestrating. You're just focusing on training the model, getting the best model that you can get aligned with your business needs, and you don't care about anything else. Focus on the business and less focusing on the platform that is behind the scene. The third one is the cloud database. Backup, DR, replication, recovery, you name it. In the cloud, it's just yes, no, 30 minutes, 1 day, every week. what kind of security level you want, and so on. On-prem, you need to do it by yourself. It's, you need the people, you need the skills, you need to create the backups. It's not so easy. I remember I think in 2013, my team had to configure and to manage a SQL farm, and it took us around 1 week to be able to configure a farm of around 15 physical machines in the same SQL farm to be able to handle the load and so on. And also it takes time. Now it not takes so much time, but still you need to have the right skills. And the fourth one, security virtual appliances, firewall, logging, monitoring, uh, networking appliances that are looking at the package, load balancer, and so on. There's so many things over there that we are forgetting that not only that we need to configure them on-prem, but also we need to buy the license for them. Just be aware or just take a look during the session how much Vault costs if you want to have it on your on-prem location. If you would rent it, the physical one, if you are renting it, it goes very easily to 20, 30K per year. They are not cheap. Uh, Premium firewall, the same thing. Nothing is cheap. Versus on the cloud, you're just scaling them and they're using based on your needs. Are not cheap, but it's more easily to scale, more easy to adapt and put on your landscape. Now, what you see here, it's a map. It's the journey that you should consider more or less when you are in the journey of doing a repatriation and you want to look at the compatibility. So you are at the beginning, and the first thing that you need to do is to do the evaluation of your current solution. What is the level of compatibility with your on-prem? You need to ensure that you are doing the full refactoring at the application level and at the configuration level, that everything that is related to cloud services is fully isolated on some API, if you have some automation script in specific scripts. And if you need to do any kind of changes, the changes will be done in only one place. The third thing that I would highly recommend to do is to consider the hybrid model. Okay, I'm doing a repatriation, but I'm not doing fully to all our business applications. What are the business applications that are driving this initiative? A, B, and C. Why? Okay, let's see if we can do only for them. The fourth step is to identify the on-premise solution that you need to use. Software, hardware that you need to integrate, that you need to use. And then you are in the phase when you do the integration of on-prem or you're doing the hybrid approach. If you've done everything well, you should reach the end and you should be happy that everything goes as expected. You might be in an approach where you have a multi-cloud hybrid solution or a full on-prem solution. But these are the most important thing that you need to consider. And all the time, as you can see in the middle of the journey, just make a step back and think about, does a hybrid model would work for me or not? How you do the evaluation, because it's very important. Does it make sense to move back to on-prem or not? Before jumping and discussing about the considerations and the KPIs that I consider them that are very relevant, let's take a look on two facts that I would like to share with you. The first one is coming from Gartner. And what Gartner predicts is that in 2024, up to 50% of enterprise workloads will be repatriated from the public cloud to an on-prem or private cloud environment. This means that around, let's say, I would say 1 of 10 VMs or computation power will come back to on-prem. This means that I think that At least one of us will be involved in at least in one project where they will need to do this. So repatriation is here. We cannot avoid it. We need to accept and to see exactly how we need to tackle. And the second one is that around three or five uh, IT decision makers, basically directors, executives, are driven by cost as the main driver of repatriation. And why I wanted to highlight these two is that when you're talking about repatriation, the first step that you need to do is to identify the KPIs. What are the KPIs, the business KPIs that are driven the repatriation and needs to be monitored at the beginning, during the process, at the end, and after that to ensure that it was a success or not. And that's very important because in most of the cases, as migration to cloud, a repatriation is done initially like an POC. Let's take only one system to see how things are going. If you're not monitoring the right KPIs, you might say, it was a big success. The cost was reduced with 80%. Everybody's happy. Let's migrate everything from cloud to on-prem. You are starting a large program for a 4 years program. Nobody can do the step back after that because there might be their heads on the tables because they committed to this. And in the end, they realize, oh man, performance is much lower. We cannot do deployments so often as we've done in the past. The licenses costs are killing us. What we need to do, let's go back to the cloud. And that's ping pong part. If you have the right KPIs and you're monitoring, after the pilot, you can say, it was a success. We identified that this works very well for our business application that are looking or are of this specific type. Let's identify the ones that are similar to this and let's see or let's create a use case to migrate them to on-prem. For the other one, it doesn't make sense. Let's keep them in the cloud. Now, this should be the story. And the business KPIs that I would highly recommend to consider are cost, performance, resource utilization and the level of them, compliance and data security, operational efficiency, business continuity, vendor relationship, and stakeholder satisfaction. Some of them are soft, like stakeholder satisfaction and vendor relationship. Some more are on the business direction or on the technology. And let's start with the cost saving. You need to measure all the time the total cost of ownership to see exactly how much it would cost me and to do the full calculation about what are the all expenses that are coming back when I'm doing a repatriation. Infrastructure expenses, licensing, data transfer, operation expenses, looking for people with specific skills, how easy to find them, to keep them, to train them, and so on. The second one that I want to highlight is performance improvement. What kind of performance I want to tackle, I want to improve, and which ones are relevant from the business. Because you might identify, well, the CPU that I'm using now in the cloud is not so good as I expected. But if you're analyzed from the business point of view, latency and response time combined with availability might be more important than the CPU level and the performance that you are getting for some workload that is running behind the scene every night or every few hours. So you need to ensure that you're looking at the performance KPIs that are related to the direct business that you are handling. The third one is data security and compliancy. How easy I can get that compliancy, I can pass that audit once I move on-prem. Can I find easily a vendor that I would trust enough to be able to check the HIPAA or the PCI DSS and things like that? And the vendor relationship might be impacted. And if you're doing this as a full cloud to on-prem and you have pretty good discounts already and things like that, once you are out of the program, you might not get the same benefits when you're trying to come back. Okay, so our fourth topic for today is what are the hidden costs? And there are so many, it's like an iceberg. A lot of people are talking about infrastructure cost, about data and storage cost, about software as a service cost, but they are forgetting about electricity on-prem, licensing, people, operational cost, and so on. What else is hidden and it's very easy to forget about? The first one is the transfer cost. How much is costing you to move that 100 petabytes of data from cloud to on-prem, and especially how long? What is the downtime that you can have during that migration? It is 1 hour, 1 day. Can you accept uh, that one or not? Sorry. Excuse me. What is the impact from the flexibility and agility point of view? And how much would impact your people, your team, and your business? The fourth one is the equipment. How much? Excuse me, 1 minute.
Hey,
Uh,
Radu, if you want to take a break and take a glass of water, you are welcome to do that.
Thank you. I just took a pill,
Y-
and I should be
Okay,
fine
I
in a
hope
few
it
seconds.
helps because when you speak, your throat get dry, and that's normal to have,
Okay,
So
thanks.
hope you can get better. Yeah, no problem.
I'm almost back. Good. I had 39 degrees 2 days ago, so I'm still recovering. So let's come back to the cloud because we have just 20 minutes left. So we have the security cost, and we are not talking about application level cost of the security, but also on the infrastructure, because sometimes you need also to implement the physical ones that comes with pretty expensive hardware with 24/7 monitoring and so on. What else could not be seen from the first? The software licensing cost. And when we talk about software licensing, it's not only, let's say, the database, the storage, and so on. Also, are all the virtual appliances that you are using, the monitoring system, things like that. Hiring or training IT staff, it's not easy. And keeping good people for long term, it's it's pretty hard. And when you go back to on-prem and you look from what kind of technologies you are using and the skills, automatically the number of skills that you need inside the company becomes much, much larger, meaning that the learning, the training, keeping people and recruiting goes becomes also more complicating. The the next one is long-term strategy cost and how you manage and what are the reasons that would remain relevant for long term from the cost point of view. You need to ensure that they are remaining the same, would not change every 1 or 2 years or 3 years when maybe somebody from the exec team would change and so on. Something that is very trendy now is the carbon footprint and the environment cost. It's important. And if you take a look on the cloud vendors, for example, Microsoft Azure, that committed already that in a few years, all the electricity that they are consuming is coming from regenerative source. You need to ask yourself, okay, if I'm moving to an on-prem location, can I do the same? And another big issue is with, for example, with water consumption. And to be able to use the cooling system that are using minimal level of water to be able not only just to cool but also to keep the humidity at a specific level are pretty expensive. And the last one is the scalability. What you would do if you need more resource. How long it takes to order let's say 500 additional CPUs versus in the cloud where this might be much easier. Or you can do a cloud repatriation strategy where, okay, if I have a burst, I will just use cloud for a specific time period, and after that I can go back to on-prem. But this is already a more or less a hybrid approach. We tackle some of them, and there's more. I don't want to cover all of them. I just want to show to you that there are more things on top of that. It is what is your initial cost, your capex when you do such an investment moving back to on-prem. What is the operational cost? Because you need to hire more people, you need to do support at multiple levels, and automatically cost goes up. And this goes to the personal cost. And it's not only in the IT, it also would involve financial, HR for recruitment, training, uh, the management level, if automatically this would also increase, and so on. Latency, bandwidth, maintaining this also would automatically affect your end cost. And if you want to go out of the business and you want to sell your infrastructure, it's not so easy. And you will see that it's like a car. In the first month, you lose around 20%. In 1 year, you're already losing around 50% of the cost of the money that you paid initially for that hardware. Then you have the security cost, physically and digital one, and even it looks that doesn't is so expensive. Just take a look on, for example, how much a firewall costs, how a professional surveillance camera would cost, or to have guards that are 24/7 there, and you, if you need only one person all the time, automatically mean that you would need three people physically, just from the security point of view. If you're doing an outsourcing to a third party, the same. You still have that cost, and after that you have the digital like firewall, anti-malware software, and many others. And also patching. I don't think that I covered patching here, but patching is not an easy job to do, especially when you have compatibility issues with the operating system or with other tools that you have installed. It can be a nightmare very easily. DR, I would say that our current generation that is using cloud as a commodity doesn't know anymore what a DR means and the complexity of it and how hard can be implemented on on-prem. What are the costs of the downtime? If you have a downtime, what you will do? If your on-prem is not available, can I do anything? Do I need two different locations? What is my strategy? Can I afford to be out of service for 1 day or 5 days? And how much hardware I need to pre-order just to have it there in the case of something fails? And don't think about uh, CPUs and hardware. Think about more basic things like a router, a switch, things like that. So you need to have a lot of things prepared. Environment cost and fines and and compliance cost, because sometimes you will get some fines and you need to consider, okay, how large is that fine, or what is the compliance cost, how much an audit costs me, and it's not one time only. It might be an annual cost of audit, not only of the application but also on the infrastructure, can add 10, 50, 100 additional K to it. Um, the last part, evaluation steps for a cloud repatriation. In theory, you have the feasibility, the impact, and the associated risk. And I want to highlight the feasibility, where we are talking about feasibility from different perspectives: technical, operational, economic, legal, and from the schedule point of view. And when we talk about evaluation steps, I would like to share with you what are the steps that I consider very important when you do repatriation. The first one is to define objectives. Why I'm doing this, and identify exactly what are the KPIs, what are the business KPIs and my goals. The second one, to do a full inventory of your cloud services that you're using, how you're using them, because you need to be sure that you're taking everything into consideration. Small things, Entra ID, X, Azure AD. I would keep it the one from Microsoft. I would go back to on-prem, what kind of solution, how easy. Uh, I'm keeping the one from cloud. I'm going back to on-prem. Do I have a one-to-one compatibility or not? You need the third step is to do a full cost analysis to take the total cost of ownership, what are the operation costs, the licensing fees, the personal expenses, everything you need to put on the paper. Here, what you can use, do the other way around. For example, Microsoft Azure have a very good TCO calculator. Take that one just to identify what are the items and the rows that you need to consider when you're moving back to on-prem. It's a very good exercise, and they already provide this on their website. Then you need to do the performance evaluation, and you need to ensure that you can get the same performance from all the perspectives. Then you do the risk identification, you are doing the mapping, and what is the mitigation for each risk that you identify, and also the business to accept it. Then you have the technical feasibility, where you do the full technical feasibility of the workloads of the system and you identify if this would work or not. And then you go to the stakeholders, to your sponsors, and you do the alignment. And you need to ensure that you have their full support. They understand the risk. You have the business KPIs that they are looking to measure the success or not of the program. And then you're just doing the migration plan. How I'm doing this migration, what are the steps from the timeline point of view, and then you go to the monitoring and the implementation phase. Once you've done that, the post-migration evaluation needs to happen. You need to be sure that from the business KPIs, it was a success, a personal success or not, because based on the outcomes of the business KPIs, the business stakeholders might decide we will do this in the future, we will migrate everything to on-prem or not. So, what lies ahead, or at least how I see the future? First of all, cloud repatriation is not all or nothing decision. It's not once I decided to go to on-prem, there's nothing to stop me to do the step back. In the end, I see it as a more hybrid approach, where you have the both ways, on-prem and cloud, and you find the best environment, the best services where you can run your business. And depending how the things evolve, you can decide that you would use more on-prem, more cloud, or you are using for a specific time period aligned with the life cycle of the system. You are using for 3 years cloud. After that, you are moving back to on-prem or to another cloud vendor and so on. If you are able to align the cloud infrastructure lifecycle with the application lifecycle, this would be a huge success because aligning these two would create a native way and specific milestones when you can evaluate and take the right decision where you would like to run your solution for the next 3, 4, 1, 5 years. So cloud repatriation is part of the cloud journey and remind us that decision should not be binary. It's not cloud or on-prem. No, it's something in the middle. Sometimes can be more on on-prem, sometimes can be more on cloud, and things naturally change. As long as you have the right business KPIs that can provide you the right outcomes, everything should be fine. Thank you. Thank you for listening me. Thank you for being part of this session. If you have questions or specific topic that you would like to tackle with me, we can do this now, or feel free to reach me out on LinkedIn. You are on mute.
Thank you for presentation, Radu. Thank you for reminding this. I was indeed on a mute. So I looked at the chat. We don't have any question at the moment. Thank you for great discussion of cloud repatriation, pros and cons. It was really interesting session. Thank you everyone who watched this session or going to watch later on the YouTube channel where most of the people are watching. Um, Enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for being part of this, session. Thank you, Radu, for your, this great presentation and interesting topic.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
having me here. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers. Bye bye.